Hi there, grief growers. Thank you so much for joining me for this last episode of Coming Back in 2018. I'm taking a break from full-length podcasting at the moment and gearing up for Season 5 of Coming Back, which premieres next Wednesday on January 2nd, 2019. But in the meantime, I wanted to share with you a few insights and stories from my life after loss. Normally for these In the Meantime episodes, you're getting bonus clips from interviews from the previous season's interviews. But for this previous season where I covered guests from the bereavement cruise, you literally got every shred of the conversation that we had to give. So for this In the Meantime podcast break, I'm sharing with you some memories and stories about my own grief experience. And I hope that they resonate with you in some way. So if you tuned in to Coming Back last week, on December 19th, you know that this In the Meantime series is a little bit heavy for me personally. Last week marked the 5-year anniversary of the day that my mom decided to die at home. And today, December 26th, marks the 5-year anniversary of the day she died. Sitting in this chair today, really feeling my body hum and pulse and exist on the earth. Just tuning into that fact that I am alive. I still can't believe that she isn't here with me on this earth too. The fact that we are no longer sharing space is still something that I can't fully wrap my brain around. I still tell people that there are days where it feels like she's gone on the world's longest vacation, and we're all just waiting for her to come home. I've gone through grief recovery multiple times. I keep up relationships with my mom's sisters. I share memories with my sister and my dad. In the realm of healing from grief, I do everything I'm supposed to be doing to alleviate the pain of her loss. But of course, if you've listened to the show long enough, you know that grief is a relationship, and that relationship continues on even when death has ended a life. I miss my mom every single day of my life. Grief growers, not one day goes by where I don't think of her in some way. And of course, my grief continues. After 5 years, my mom's spirit is still in some kind of conversation with mine. Today, I don't really want to go into the particulars of how my mom died. That's not what's pressing on my heart. So for today, in this In the Meantime episode, I wanted to share something that's been pressing on my spirit, something that's kind of been nagging at the back of my brain for a little bit. And it's the truths that have continued to come through in the 5 years that she's been gone. I'm calling this episode What I Know for Sure, which is the phrase that Oprah made famous after her interview with Gene Siskel. And now there's this whole book in the world called What I Know for Sure. But basically, the concept of what I know for sure is a little tidbit of truth or piece of wisdom that stands at the heart of everything. Like when you boil out everything else, what is at the core? At the end of the day, or even first thing in the morning, what you know for sure is what you believe to be true for you and your life. So the first thing that I know for sure, living 5 years without my mom, is that death ends life. That's the only thing it ends. Death ends life, not a relationship. Love and emotions and psychology and mentality live on like we do. And this wisdom is actually from the author Mitch Albom, who wrote Tuesdays with Morrie, which is a wonderful quick read if you have a day or two to pick it up over the holidays. The second thing that I know for sure is that the restoration of my happiness, my hope, and my health after loss are in direct correlation to the amount of energy I devote to examining and honoring my grief. The third thing that I know for sure is that there is enough room in my heart for both joy and grief, growth and loss to coexist. My heart has expanded to make room for my experiences. And yes, I can absolutely feel more than one thing at one time. I hope, grief growers, as we're wrapping up this holiday season and heading into 2019, that you're feeling like there is enough room for your grief in your world. I know for me, in the aftermath of my mom's loss, my grief felt like an inconvenience at best and an immovable, permanent, life-ruining obstacle at worst. I didn't want grief in my life. I mean, who really, truly wants grief, the experience of loss, and reliving it in their life? 5 years of inviting grief in and asking it what I need and making room for the ongoing spirit of my mom to throw her 2 cents in all the time has forced me to see the truth. And that is that I am big enough. I am strong enough. I am capable enough to hold all of this. Even when it feels like it's going to come crashing down or spilling over or cracking open. Each time I have grieved, each day I have grieved, I have survived and continued on. My biggest fear at the onset of losing my mom was that I would be swallowed by her loss, that grief would consume me and there would be no way out and I wouldn't recognize who I was anymore. I was afraid that my grief would absorb my smallness with its bigness. But my heart spoke up. It showed up. And it said, no, I'm bigger than all of this. I can make room. I can scooch over or tack on a bonus room and give you a stadium of empty bleachers to pour this into. Above all else, what I know for sure, is that I, and you too, grief growers, we are enough to hold our grief. My mom's death taught me, and continues to teach me, that I am bigger than my grief, in the best possible way. Not in an intimidating way, or a powerful way, or threatening way, but in an embracing way, and an inclusive way, in a holistic way. I don't have to muscle grief out of my life or keep it clamped down in this little box or worry about it consuming me because of how big it is. My job in my grief is to show up with my whole heart, because my heart is big enough for the both of us. Me and my grief. Me and my mom. And that, grief growers, is what I know for sure. I hope you enjoyed this In the Meantime episode of Coming Back. Season 5 of this podcast premieres next week on January 2nd. To receive additional grief support beyond this podcast, please consider supporting Coming Back on Patreon. Whenever you pledge, you are automatically entered to win my In the Meantime giveaway. Anyone who's a patron of Coming Back by December 31st, 2018, coming up in 5 days, is automatically entered to win 2 copies of the grief book that totally changed my life, the Grief Recovery Method Handbook. In addition to the 2 books you'll win, I'll also send along a set of Coming Back podcast stickers and a handwritten thank you note straight from my desk. You can find a link to my Patreon page where you can pledge and enter to win for as little as $1 per month in the show notes. You can also find a link to my Patreon page by visiting my website, which is www.shelbyforsythia.com. Check out episode 64 of Coming Back if you'd like to hear more about the details of the Patreon giveaway and, of course, all the places I'll be between now and season 5 of Coming Back. That's all I've got for you for this episode of Coming Back in the Meantime. I can't wait to return to you with full-length episodes and interviews next week. While I'm away from the mic, you can find updates on me, this podcast, and my adventures on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and some extra behind-the-scenes stuff, always on Patreon. If you'd like to leave a question, comment, or guest suggestion for a future episode, leave a voicemail or text 312-725-3043 or email me at shelby@shelbyforsythia.com. As always, my dear grief growers, it was beautiful sharing this space and time with you today. I see you, I am proud of you and the work that you're doing in the world. And I love you. Because even through grief, we are growing.